Good day, everybody. This is Peter J. Danielczuk, former longtime executive officer of the International Polka Association, and recently appointed as a new trustee to the IPA Polka Music Hall of Fame. And today, I have the pleasure of speaking with another trustee, as well as a great Polka Hall of Famer, our good friend Larry Walk. Well, good afternoon or good day, Larry. How are you today?
Good afternoon, Peter. We are excellent. How are you today?
I'm doing quite well, and let me tell you, it's such an honor to have the privilege of interviewing you for the IPA, so they can put this on their website, and people can get to learn about you a little bit. So let's get started. Why don't you tell us about yourself, like where you were born, who your parents were, and how you got started in polka music?
Right. Well, I was born in Youngstown, Ohio, and my parents take me to the church picnics where there's always polka bands, which is where I learned my love of polka music and our heritage. And as I went through high school and college, at the sock ops in high school, I'd always play a polka or two, which many of the younger kids didn't particularly appreciate, but I stuck to my guns and played them anyway, being as DJing. I got in college, and I noticed there wasn't any polka shows on that were doing a format that I thought was really good. Many of them had a long list of names, and they'd play a polka and another long list of names. And very often, the list of names were the same people week after week, requesting for everything from their dog to their all types of things, just to hear the same names on the air. So I decided when I started a polka show, I was not going to take dedications. I would take requests, but not dedications. And I auditioned for the show and at a station, and the program director says, you sound like Lawrence Walk. We're going to call you Larry Walk. And the reason for that was I was so nervous that I guess I must have been stuttering with a broken accent at that point in time. And here we are, 56 years later. I'm still Larry Walk, and never thought it would last that long, but it has. We're currently on the air 6 hours every weekend, 3 hours on Saturday morning, WPIC, 790 on the radio dial from 8 until 11, and then Sunday afternoons from 1 until 4 at WRQX Radio, formerly WSOM Radio, and that's from 1 until 4, 600 on the radio dial. We feature a blend of polka music, mostly Polish, but also some of Slovenian mixed in, because there are Slovenians in this area that like polka music, and that's how we got our start. We then went into the Polka Festivals. We started that in 1964 at Idora Park. They had a huge ballroom there, and I convinced the owners to let me try a polka festival. They really didn't think it was going to do what it did. The very first festival, we had about 1,200 people. They got caught off guard and had to bring in chairs from chair rental just to handle the crowd. And after that, it became an annual event where we had it every June and every August. Now, June would be around 1,200 paid admissions. August would be around 1,800 paid admissions. June being lower due to graduations. Parents and grandparents would, of course, go to graduation parties of their grandchildren, decreasing the June attendance. But August, again, the last fling of summer, we just had a full house, buses from as far as Canada. Everyone had a great time. 12 hours of polka happiness, 4 great bands, and they were the greatest bands in the nation. We had Marian Shelley Blazonczyk, Happy Louie, Little Wally, Ampliers, the Pala Brothers, and that list goes on and on. And Idora Park was such a huge ballroom, charged just $275 at that point in time. And so they charged more than that for just one dance and one band. And they says, no, we could do something nobody else could do. And that was a success. That why we were able to draw such a big crowd is the low admission for 4 outstanding national bands.
Wow, and that kept going on for a number of years, didn't it?
It did until the Idora Park was an amusement park. They would bring their kids and grandkids out, and free admission for the kids and grandkids. Everybody under 18 was admitted free. So that brought the kids out. Then the teenage girls would notice the young musicians on the stage, so they would start gathering in front of the stage, and before you know long, the teenage boys would notice the girls in front of the stage, and that's how it perpetuated for many, many generations of the finest in polka sounds around.
So I guess we could call you the East Coast version of Dick Pillar, right?
Well,
you started so many festivals, and I guess that even led up to where people called on you to book a number of bands for different festivals also.
absolutely. Then the Adora Amusement Park burned down, and the Polka Festivals continued for a couple more years because the ballroom still remained. And finally, someone burned the ballroom down, so then for a year or two, I moved it to the Yankee Lake Ballroom, and I still wanted an amusement park to attract kids. About a year or two later, we moved it to Conneaut Lake Park, Dreamland Ballroom, and there we converted it into a 3-day festival because they had a hotel right on the premises and motels all around Dreamland. And we continued there for, again, many, many, many years or decades. And during this time, we were also promoting polka cruises for the Gateway Clipper Fleet in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And we're still doing that to this year. This past year, we didn't have it due to the coronavirus. But other than that, Lenny Gomulka has been scheduled there, and will be scheduled back again as soon as the virus is finished. And also had these Liverpool JCs and many other organizations and having put together polka festivals for them.
Right, and you also are involved with the annual Bavarian Fun Fest, too, right?
Yes, I was festmaster for there, and then I was actually booking the bands for that event. And we went with that until it finally was no longer in existence. New owners came in and had a different route that they wanted to take their facility. But yes, we were the festmaster there and then the MC for many, many decades again, and that was held in Sharon, Pennsylvania.
You know, talking with you, I see a lot of myself with you because this year I've celebrated my 50th year, not quite as the 56 years as you so far. And we similar how we grew up too, because I grew up with my father listening to polkas all the time. He would take my mother and me for rides on a Sunday afternoon, and that's all we heard in the car. The whole 8 hours we'd be driving was polka music. And I guess you got and taking the polka dances just like I guess your parents did for you.
Oh, absolutely. In the house, they knew when every polka show would come on, whether it was an hour show, a half an hour show, a daily show, a weekly show, and that was always on the radio. And, of course, once that happy music gets into your heart and into your blood, there's nothing else like it. On my show, I use the phrase that polkas are the musical antidepressant, and I really feel they are, because every time you see someone hearing polka music, they're tapping their feet, even if they're too old to dance. Everyone just has a great time, a smile on their face. You never see, and the word never is true, because as I mentioned, we had 1,800 people at our door, never saw an unhappy face at a polka dance.
No, you never do it. I feel the same way. You know, sometimes, you know, and I'm sure you've seen it too. I mean, I've seen when listeners have passed away, and in part of their obituary, they say, and part of their life was listening to my polka radio show that made them feel happy. And it gives you such a great feeling that people loved you so much, and we bring so much happiness to them. Oh,
absolutely. And as I mentioned, so this is why we keep it going. And currently we're still 6 hours, 2 stations every weekend. And we're very, very pleased to do it. And the listeners, every now and then you get one from someone that says they were shut in and they waited all week for it. And that just makes it all worthwhile. It's absolutely a great feeling to make other people happy with the happiest music around. Of course, that's polka music.
That is correct. Now, before 1964, before they gave you the career name Larry Polka Walk, what were you born as?
Well, my legal name is George Lesnansky, and my full-time profession, I was a teacher, and I was also an assistant principal for a while. But I was a teacher for nearly 3 decades, taught in the Youngstown City school system, and that also gave me pride, helping kids out, getting kids straightened out. Besides teaching them their mathematics, which I was a math teacher, also just being a guidance to them. And some of them maybe came from a one-parent home, and I miss that to this day, not teaching. I really wished I could go back, but of course right now with the coronavirus, I wouldn't want to go back, but I gave thoughts of going back and substituting. And so that was my legal name, still is my legal name. But back in the days whenever Larry Walk was born, they did not put a person on the air that had an ethnic name like that, whether it was Polish, Slovak, Italian. Everybody had an Americanized name, so that's where the name Larry Walk came from. But the legal name still is George Lesnansky.
Yeah, and I can relate to you just like that too, Larry, because when I graduated the University of Connecticut in 1973, I actually worked in radio full-time as a morning announcer, and of course I used the name Peter J. Daniels. I cut Danielczuk short, and because you couldn't use Danielczuk, and I remember some of my uncles, they were so mad at me that I was using a name like Daniels, but that's the way radio was back then.
Absolutely. Now it's a little bit different even on TV. You are seeing now people with ethnic names, which is a good thing. Our grandparents came here. They didn't get to push too for Polish. They came here. They knew that this was America. They had to learn the language, and they did. First thing my grandmother learned how to do was count. You couldn't fool her on money for anything. She learned how to count. That was the first thing she learned. And as my parents went to school, they told them, learn English, be Americanized, and they wouldn't speak the foreign language in the house. They insisted on speaking English. They wanted their kids to be Americanized. And finally, now I'm the third generation here and able to get a master's degree, and of course, I had honor and dignity to our nationality.
I know. I remember my Bapji when I was young, and I used to be amazed that she watched all the news, American news and everything, and she understood everything. And you know what? The Polish people are proud, and we have to give them great credit because they did themselves so well here in America.
Absolutely. They have earned their dignity and the respect that they have. They didn't come here and expect it to be handed it to them. They came in here, they took second-class homes, fixed them up, planted flowers, planted gardens, got hard-working jobs in the mills where they literally almost sweat themselves to death, and some did, until finally now our generation can hold our heads up looking back at the hard work that our parents and grandparents put in and hold our heads high with our ethnic names.
Now, again, we have a similar story, although I'm remarried for 15 years, but back some 25 years ago, I lost my first wife, Mary Ann, to cancer. I was only married, though, for 2.5 years, but that was heartbreaking. And again, I go back to remembering you at the IPA conventions with your beautiful wife, Diana, who helped you so much and everything. And I know, again, that was quite a loss when she passed away. Why don't you just tell us how exuberant Diana was with you working a little bit?
Well, Diana, I didn't think anybody could have a greater love of polka kid. I met her on one of my Gateway Clipper polka cruises in Pittsburgh, and I saw her sitting there, and she danced with another guy. I thought, well, if she danced with him, he'll dance with me. So I asked her to dance, and she did, and then she says, oh, I want another dance. We danced the second dance. And then as the cruise was over, I went on and announced and thanked everybody, and she came up to me, she says, oh, you're Larry Walk, and she gave me a kiss on the cheek. And I thought she was from Cleveland. I thought she came on the Cleveland bus, so I hurried up and tried to get my equipment together, at least to say goodbye or wave goodbye on the bus. I couldn't see her there. The next week, my mom says, gee, I'd like to see Danielczuk again, and this time he's going to be at Cushman, so I'll take you there. My dad had a stroke and couldn't climb steps, so I was caregiver to my elderly parents, which is why I took an early retirement from teaching. I didn't want to put them in nursing homes as an only child. I have an extreme dislike for nursing homes. Sometimes there's not a choice, but I did have a choice. To me, a nursing home is a waiting room for death. You're telling someone, go and wait there until you die because I don't have time to take care of you. But fortunately, I did. And so then I took my mother to Cushman, and Diana was there, and I was going out as she's coming in. And, oh, thank you for the records, because I put out some of the 33 RPM records for the customers to take free of charge, being I was now all in the CDs. And I almost didn't recognize her because she was dressed so much differently. The following week, my dad says, I'd like to have seen the band that was on the top deck, but they were at Cushman's that week. Dad, I'll take you. So I took them, and Diane was there again, and she says, oh, I want to dance again. And it was kind of hit me again. So then I started talking to her and figured out she was from the Gateway Clipper. And I said, well, too far you live so far away, because she lived up maybe 45 miles away from me. And I says, I could use help on the show. She says, oh, no, I'll drive. So she auditioned the following week, and within about 6 weeks, we were engaged and married within 2 months. And it was the happiest 11 years of my life being married to her. She was so dedicated to the music, so friendly to all the polka people. I mean, she just came up and lit the room up and hugged everybody. And her not being on the piano was a true loss to me. At this point in time, I still have her voice on the air on the produced ads because many of our advertisers have been with me, most of them over 30 years, some as many as 56 years. And many of their produced ads have not changed. So her voice on the produced ads I still have on the air is a tribute to her love of the polka music and her memory of her being on the show. So not a second goes by in my life that I don't miss her and think of her. Pictures of her in every room. As I said, her voice is on the air when I'm on the air. And she was a true asset to the polka community as well as my life.
No, God bless you. And like I said, I remember the good times that you had with her at the conventions. I always said to everybody, I said, you know what? Look at this couple. They have the biggest smiles in the world, and they're always happy together, holding hands and dancing around. You guys were super.
Oh, yes. And I'll tell you, she married me knowing that coming home from church, our honeymoon was going to be being caregiver for my parents, because I already cared for my parents alone 5 or 6 years here after my dad had his stroke. And she was a nurse, and she just accepted that. She treated my parents better than many girls treat their own parents. So she was a gem, and never find another human being like her. I'm almost totally convinced.
Well, that is fantastic. Now, who else is part of your family today, Larry?
Well, I have a son, a daughter-in-law, and 3 grandchildren, and that's about it.
All right, so you got 3 beautiful grandchildren, huh?
Yes.
Aren't you lucky? I know how it is. I mean, I'm remarried, so through my stepsons, I have 4 grandchildren, so I know how it is. It's so beautiful to play, and some of them, once in a while, they'll listen to the polka music too, which isn't bad, so we got to keep that going with them.
Yeah, and then I had a little Chihuahua that I adopted after I lost Diana, but I lost him about 6 weeks ago. That I had to put him down to a bad heart, so I'm looking for another one now to have something that's warm and living in the house that I could care for. So
yeah, so that's good. Well, through your many years, why don't you tell us about who some of your favorite groups were in the polka field?
The biggest groups that we had at Adore, of course, were Marion Lush. He pulled a crowd like no other. Happy Louie and Marion Lush were the 2 biggest draws that we had there. And, of course, Eddie Blazonczyk, Little Wally, the Ampelers, the Pala Brothers were all big picks, that is, from the national scene. And then from the Penn, Ohio area, we had Ray J and the Carousels. We had Andy and the Trelltones, Little John's ATM Band, the Sounds, just to mention a few from that area. And, of course, in the Cleveland area, there was Eddie Petunias and Wally's Polka Chips. And right now, Maddie's Polish Princes were also some of the favorites that we've had and feature on the air each and every weekend.
Right. And, of course, this year, finally, the Ampelers called it quits. They retired this year after so many great years, and they're going to be missed, just like all the bands are missed. But there's still some great bands today yet, and we're lucky that we still get people dedicated to playing some good polka music yet.
Yeah, the Ampelers were a very unique band. I enjoyed having them the many, many times that they appeared for me. One year at Adore Park, they told us we're professionals and we just can't make it there for Sunday and get back in time for our jobs on Monday. And we checked the air flights, and there were no flights. The flight came into Cleveland at 2 o'clock and left like an hour later, which wouldn't have worked. So we came up with the idea, how about if we pick you up in a Winnebago? You guys sleep on the way to Youngstown. You play the job. You sleep. We'll drive you back to Chicago. You'll be there Monday morning. And they agreed to that. I thought that was kind of neat. So we did hire them for that. And we were on the air doing a live remote, and we get a phone call. It's the Ampelers and the Winnebago. For some reason, this thing won't go over 40 miles an hour, but we'll be there. So we kept going. And then finally we got a call. It broke down in Toledo. They can't make it any further. And that was a huge disappointment. And at that point in time, we wanted to be fair to all the, thousands of people that were there that came to see them, along with the other bands. So we announced and told them, well, the Ampelers just had a breakdown. They cannot make it. Anybody that came to see them and wants a refund, if you leave within the next hour and a half, we'll give you a fuel refund. And, of course, not one person took us up on it. But we wanted to be fair and not, that we misrepresented they'd be there, and we had no way of anticipating this. So then the next day, they were stranded in Toledo, so we had to get them. The owner of Idora had a gentleman who had a private plane, so he flew over to Toledo, picked them up, and flew them back into Chicago. And then we had their instruments packaged up, and then Greyhound bust into them, and that was one of the unique stories of the things that happened to us as we were live on the air.
Yeah, that's and again, of course, you got to know so many of the great older bands through the years, just like I did. I mean, I got to visit Wojnarowski in a convalescent home. His mind wasn't there anymore, but I talked with him. But of course, one of my great mentors was the maestro Ray Henry, who I spoke with so many times, as well as Walt Solik and Gene Wisniewski. So I was kind of proud that I got able to know people like that, just like you got to know people in your area more.
Right. Another one I might add is Jimmy Sturr. We had him at Idora Park, or not at Park. We had him at Conneaut Lake Park, and he is another one of the bands that, of course, just drew huge crowds and great memories. It just saddens me that most of my friends, and I consider them friends, are gone. Wally's gone. Louie's not playing anymore. Lush is gone. About the only national band that's still playing is Lenny Gomulka. And as I stated, we had him scheduled this past August on the Gateway Clipper and had to cancel it due to the virus. And we're hoping it straightens out by next August so we could have him back once again.
Oh, yeah, Lenny does it great. In fact, I think this year was his 40th anniversary starting the Push.
Right.
So, and yes, Lenny is super. Now, 1994. That was the year you were inducted into the International Polka Music Hall of Fame. Tell me about how you felt at that time.
Oh, I was very, very honored as well as excited. As a matter of fact, that happened when I was running a 3-day festival at Conneaut Lake Park. And, of course, couldn't be in two places at once. So my son graciously came in and emceed the festival. I was there Friday night. And then he came in and emceed for Saturday and Sunday so I could get to Chicago to accept the honor. And it was a great time. I certainly appreciated the honor that they gave me. And promoting polka music all those years was not for the honor. It was for the entertainment and the happiness that we were bringing to listeners and to the dancers. And I certainly was honored, and that is one of the highest honors that I've received. Also, I was recognized by the United States Polka Association and, it's many other groups. And it certainly makes you feel great to know that people notice what you are doing.
Oh, yes. I mean, and again, likewise, many of the awards I've received from the USPA and being inducted into the Broadcasters Hall of Fame. And like I wrote a little poem one time, and I ended, the medals, awards, and promotion will only tell little of your emotion because, we do get good emotions when we see people happy, don't we, Larry?
Right, and I also was inducted into the Broadcasters Hall of Fame, which was another honor, being it was not strictly a polka group, but all broadcasters.
Right.
And again, that made me feel very, very happy and appreciative.
That's why I said, I can't believe how much similarities you and me have. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, Ohio Polka Bells Man of the Year in 2012, and I'll tell you, it's nice, but the ball and keep the thing going. And one of the problems that I do see, though, are of course, mixed marriages, which are common in the United States and certainly an acceptable thing. But it used to be whenever Polish married Polish or Italian married Italian, they kept the customs of their heritage, the foods, the music. And now, as we have mixed marriages, some of the customs are getting lost, and that saddens me so much. I mean, nothing makes me happier than Golomki and Halushki and the kielbasa and the sauerkraut and the polka music. And like the Italians love their spaghetti and meatballs and rigatoni and all the other things. It's sad to see some of these customs getting lost, but that's the way it is, and you can't stop the world from going around and around.
No, that's at least some of the churches in the United States with the Polish heritage. At least they keep up a little bit with either Polish picnics. Well, this year, of course, there were no picnics really because of COVID. But a lot of churches did have a drive-in type of thing where they made food and you order it, you drove in and picked it up and then left. So at least they kept that tradition trying to do.
Correct.
And of course, do you have any great words for anybody that might be listening about polka music?
Well, Richie Zembroski pointed something out to me in my program, and he says, so few of your listeners now probably understand the Polish language anymore. You're probably better off playing more English vocals. So I have done that. I have heeded his words, and I'm playing more of the English vocals. I still feature Polish vocals, but not as heavily as I did in the past. And I think that was a good point he brought out to me, that the number of people remaining who speak the Polish language are few and far between. So we've made that adjustment in our show, but other than that, the words of wisdom would be keep polka music in your heart, and you're going to have a happy, happy life.
Well, Larry, it's been quite an honor to be able to speak with you for the IPA. And you truly are a superstar in the polka field, and I look up to you, and I thank you so much for all you've given to polka music. And don't stop until the last accordion plays.
We are doing that.
Larry, again, thank you. God bless, and be good.
Thank you for the invitation and your kindness, Peter.